So we've spent the last 2 days together with the brightest minds in television and digital video. Well, tell me what your thoughts are. What's your postmortem?
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting actually. I think the conversation, as much as it feels like sometimes it's the same, I would say event to event or week to week, it does feel a little different. This time was a lot more a business model conversation. I think we're moving past just talking about the pipes. That's been what the conversation has certainly been for a long time, is how do you lay the right groundwork, have the right technology. Certainly we're still talking about the fact there's a lot of work to do there. I don't mean that that's all that's going on. But as we talk about the pipes are being laid, the data's there, what I think is interesting is the conversation is becoming more and more about the business model. How does money actually move? How is money actually spent? How do marketers actually get better results? And so I've been struck by the fact that that's how this conversation has moved, and that's been true, I think, across all sides of the aisle. In many cases, you're at events like this, and you've got ad tech is talking about the pipes, but you've got the sellers just talking about media. This seems to be a little bit more collaborative approach, actually, across all the different constituents. I think having a lot of the same conversation. Let's not kid ourselves. Lots of disagreement and work to do from here.
But maybe a lot of the same problems, too?
I think that's right.
There's a little bit of almost like solidarity, it feels like.
Well, yeah, you know what? Probably from two different perspectives, which is, I think, the technology side of this business, which has certainly started in many forms from the digital side of video or the digital industry largely, the quote ad tech ecosystem that certainly wants to play in the big boys camp, if you will, which is the TV dollars. And those guys, though, are seeing, I think, the challenge of a market which isn't evolving as fast as they thought it would. And so on one hand, you've got those guys saying, how do I continue to be relevant and make my business grow, which is, of course, what they have to do. I think on the other side, the more traditional, if you will, TV players from all the different sides are saying, this marketplace is clearly evolving in ways that are going to be dangerous to us outside the traditional set-top box distribution point to a more to a more digital-like experience, and saying, man, I better lean into this conversation as well, or we're going to be the ones in trouble. And so, yeah, I do think that's driving a kindred spirit, if you will, of, man, the business model challenges we better both deal with, because we actually have a mutual incentive here to figure out where we're going.
Yeah, and you know, there were a couple interesting points. Look, you had a little bit of a throwback, right, a couple of years ago about, looks like, smells like, we've been here before.
Well, it's interesting. I did make the analogy that in some ways you could think about what's about to happen. And I don't know that it's happening yet. I do think, listen, for those of us that are participating in this part of the conversation, we're a step ahead of where the market is at large. But the analogy I was using is does in some way feel like in early 2000s when the craze of the ad network was invented for digital media, solving actually a lot of problems which were very necessary. The end point of that, or the next evolution point of that, was the creation of, quote, programmatic buying, the move from really a blind marketplace to more transparent marketplaces where marketers are getting more intelligent about what they're buying, why they're buying it, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're about to see the same thing in the, quote, TV business, if you will, which is the first step, I think, is going to have to be somewhat more of a network model. Now, I hope as we do that it's going to be way more transparent and way more outcome-based for the end marketer and for the seller than it was in the internet era, which is to say one of the big issues of the dot-com bubble bursting and that whole process was just how much money was sucked out from the intermediaries.
Right.
Listen, it's going to be true that both buyers and sellers need intermediaries that are going to solve these problems in faster ways. Again, let's hope that, and I'm going to be encouraging clients, marketers to think about, and the sellers to think about the fact that they can do that. They better do it with transparency. They better do it with kind of true credibility and clarity of what they're offering. I don't think at this day and age, with where we are with marketers' understanding of new measurement models and new metrics and data that matters, that the idea that we're going to go back to a blind world in TV, I just can't see that actually happening.
Awesome.